This guy, I don't know what I said. I don't remember. He's going like, I don't remember. Maybe that's what I said.
So that's him mocking a disabled New York Times reporter back in 2015. Of course, his opposition to violence is well documented.
Thrown into the back of a paddy wagon. You just see him thrown in.
James O'Brien takes Donald Trump head on once again, and this time his criticism raises some serious questions about Trump's response to pressure and criticism. It's sharp, intense, and definitely worth watching. Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.
Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I mean, in Donald Trump's America at the moment, you can get fired for words. Do you know that when Kim Jong-il passed away in North Korea, people were punished for not mourning in a sincere and authentic enough fashion? That was the leader of a despotic regime. People in the United States now are being punished for not mourning the passing of a political commentator with some far-right leanings in a sufficiently authentic or sincere fashion. They're being punished with job losses and the like. And yet, of course, it is this country that people like Nigel Farage like to compare to North Korea. So, kudos to Donald Trump for describing the United Kingdom as a wonderful place. A wonderful, wonderful place. If Donald Trump is embarked upon a kind of takeover, if he is determined to dismantle the democratic norms of the United States of America, which is most certainly an argument, if not a matter of fact yet, if he is going to criminalise criticism and silence all dissent, even the dissent that is the truth, if he is embarked upon that path, when he wants political opponents to be punished and pilloried, and when he wants media critics or indeed people voicing uncomfortable truths to be hauled over the coals, then there is a lurch towards something deeply unpleasant. In fact, what am I talking about? He encouraged an armed coup against a democratic election result and went on to pardon the seditionists and the rioters responsible. There is no greater endorsement of political violence than pardoning people convicted of political violence. But remember, it's the other lot that are doing it. The other lot that are responsible for it. Another thing from my own past, I remember a teacher at one of my schools telling me that you should always stand up to bullies. And I remember saying to him, what if the bully is you, sir? I can't actually remember what he said in response, but there's a little indication there of how annoying it was to be one of my teachers. What if you're the bully, sir? What if the headmaster is the bully? I had a headmaster as a young boy who was a terrible bully, a violent, vicious bully. Would you stand up to him, or would you put an awful amount of effort into trying to keep him sweet? And that brings us to Keir Starmer and Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a vicious bully. He is an inconsistent, unreliable, mercurial, whimsical, vicious bully. He will indulge his own prejudices and proclivities to the detriment of the national interest, the public interest, any other interest except his own. Sometimes he'll even damage his own interest because he is too blinkered by his own vitriol and narcissism to recognise reality. Donald Trump bullies Volodymyr Zelensky when he comes into the Oval Office, and then, 2 months later, the news cycle's moved on and he's claiming to be a great defender or champion of Ukraine or an admirer of Zelensky. There is consistency in the way that he's spoken about Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer, quite possibly with the connivance and contribution of Peter Mandelson. I am not going as far today as to say that it proves he was right to appoint Mandelson, because I think he was horribly, horribly wrong. That is one of those moments where expediency and principle have smashed each other to smithereens. But what else could Keir Starmer do? Let's go further. Even if 12 months down the line, 2 years down the line, anything that Keir Starmer manages to secure from the Mango Mussolini has gone up in flames, quite possibly started by Donald Trump himself. This double state visit, this exercise in constitutional toe-tickling, this rolling out of red carpets and pageantry galore, this extreme pandering to the ego and the narcissism of a vicious bully is not only the right thing for Keir Starmer to do, it is something that he is doing extremely well. And those words curdle in my mouth as I utter them. But unless you can tell me what else he should have done, what else he could have done, what else he might have done, then I'm afraid you're going to have to agree with me. Speaking of words, this is how Donald Trump greeted an Australian, or responded to an Australian reporter who was simply asking a question about his own business dealings, which have, I think it's fair to say, enjoyed a most extraordinary upturn in fortunes since he became the president for the second time.
As president in office, should be engaged in so much business activity.
Well, I'm really not. My kids are running the business. I'm here. You know what the activity, where are you from?
I'm from the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Four Corners
Well,
program.
the Australians, you're hurting Australia, right? In my opinion, you are hurting Australia very much right now. And they want to get along with me. You know, your leader is coming over to see me very soon. I'm going to tell him about you. You set a very bad tone.
Well,
Go ahead,
okay,
John.
fine.
Maybe
When
you can set a nicer
When the
tone.
UAE does a deal, what does it want in return?
Quiet.
See, bullies are always cowards, but the bigger the bully, the more power the bully has, the harder it is sometimes to get to the cowardice. That journalist there got to it in 5 seconds flat. Who else is thinking of Jimmy Carter's peanut farm? No? Okay, I'll explain. When Jimmy Carter became president of the United States of America, he put the family peanut farm in a blind trust, lest there be any question whatsoever about the politics of his administration having an impact, beneficial or otherwise, on his family business. Donald Trump doesn't even pretend that his family business isn't benefiting from this. His sons, who are, I mean, he's cursed with 2 Fredos, isn't he? And no Michael. But his sons are running the business and also play a major role in his political machine. And he is also, of course, involved in his own business dealings and hates being asked about it. And what does he do when he's asked about it? He attacks an entire country. I think it's worth... David up next, then Malcolm in Brighton. Then, of course, it could be you. I think it's worth listening to that again. This is a very simple question, whether you're looking at cryptocurrencies or whether you're looking at golf courses and hotels, whatever it is that you're looking at. The idea that Donald Trump's business dealings have in any way ceased since he became president is observably absurd. And yet you ask him a really simple question about it, and he attacks an entire country.
See this guy, oh, I don't know what I said, I don't remember. He's going like, I don't remember, maybe that's what I said.
So that's him mocking a disabled New York Times reporter back in 2015. Of course, his opposition to violence is well documented.
Thrown into the back of a paddy wagon. You just see him thrown in, rough. I said, please don't be too nice. Like when you guys put somebody in the car and you're protecting their head, you know, the way you put their hand over. Like, don't hit their head, and they've just killed somebody, don't hit their head. I said, you can take the hand away, okay?
Violence and cheers. And of course, there's been a lot of talk this week about how political discourse should be conducted and how respectful and civil it should be.
Lock her up is right. For what she's done, they should lock her up. Crooked, you should lock her up. Lock up Hillary.
Not just Hillary and not just in his first term.
You look at what this governor Newscomb from California, isn't that his name, Newscomb? What he's done to California is unbelievable.
That's not, of course, his name. His name is Gavin Newsom. But hey, it's funny because it sounds like scum when he does that. But whatever you do, you know, don't use hurty words or be rude about people because you could lose your job. And all of that is part of what Keir Starmer has to deal with. All of that. I think the Australian thing yesterday is extraordinary. It's as if a member of the BBC said, do you have a comment, Mr. President, on the fact that, Your business dealings have benefited enormously from some of the decisions that have been taken while you've been president. And he attacks the country. I'm going to tell your leader about you. I'm going to tell your leader about you. Listen to this again and listen to the bit where he sounds like a mewling, whining, pathetic little child threatening to tell teacher because you've just pulled his pigtails.
Your leader is coming over to see me very soon. I'm going to tell him about you. You set a very bad tone.
I'm going to tell him about you. Mummy, he said some mean things. He said some mean words, and now I'm going to make a speech about how freedom of speech is under threat. I'm telling the Prime Minister of Australia about you because you said something mean about... He didn't even say anything mean. He just asked a question. An uncomfortable question. So it's pathetic. But what choice does Keir Starmer have? And I've played those clips because I was expecting more disagreement today. And I'm now trying to remind you how awful Trump is so that hopefully you can come to me with a cogent argument as to why Keir Starmer should be playing things differently. I'm going to disagree, but I think it's a pendulum.
And this is where James O'Brien's argument gets especially uncomfortable, because he's not necessarily saying Starmer's strategy toward Trump is admirable. He's saying it may be necessary. Think about that for a moment. If you're dealing with a political figure who responds aggressively to criticism, then perhaps diplomacy means putting personal feelings aside and playing the long game. Starmer may not like Trump's style, but Britain still has interests that depend on maintaining a workable relationship with the United States. And then you look at Trump's response to that Australian journalist. The journalist asked a straightforward question about Trump's business interests. Instead of simply answering, Trump turned the confrontation toward the journalist himself, criticized Australia, and even suggested he would raise the issue with the country's leader. That is what makes the moment so revealing. It wasn't just the answer, it was the reaction to being challenged. O'Brien's wider point is that this is the kind of political environment Starmer has to navigate. He's dealing with someone who can shift from confrontation to cooperation incredibly quickly, making traditional political calculations much harder. And then comes O'Brien's two Freddos and no Michael comparison. It's a sharp reference to The Godfather, suggesting that Trump's inner circle lacks the calm, strategic figure who can consistently manage the situation behind the scenes. Whether you agree with that comparison or not, the larger question remains, what exactly is Starmer supposed to do? He can openly confront Trump and risk damaging the relationship, or he can engage diplomatically even when it looks uncomfortable. And honestly, that's the part I find most interesting. Sometimes politics isn't about doing what feels good. It's about dealing with the reality in front of you. So now I want to hear from you. Is Starmer handling Trump the right way, or is he giving Trump far too much?